Good morning, friend, and welcome to Namaste today, a glorious way to kickstart the day. I'm your heartfelt host and the Sensei to Serious Joy, Christopher Witecki. This audio blogcast is for Tuesday, July 25th, 2017. Welcome to a bit of a moody day. Namaste. Well, we have finally left the season of emotional cancer and now find ourselves in the I Love Leo transit. But today, step 2 rules half the day, which means you might be emotional about what you love or don't love. In today's Zodiac Weather, I'll break down the planets and explain why. But first, since the heart and emotions are speaking up today, I thought I would discuss the idea of how to speak to them. Go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our daily tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is speaking to the heart. We are moving into the sign of Leo, the season of love, and that means our heart. Now, I don't know if you've studied spirituality, but I would say many spiritual faiths agree that it is love that rules the universe. We are a universe of love incarnate, quite literally. And if we are a universe of love incarnate, that means our heart is what is in charge of our soul, because it is our heart that which channels love. Therefore, I Love Leo is the heart of the soul, and your heart is the boss of you. Now, I bring this up because I don't really think we act like our heart is the boss of us in daily life. Not in our society, not in our exchanges with other people, not in our programming in television and movies. The heart really only seems to be important in a romantic comedy. Otherwise, it's never spoken to. And in our own daily life, I don't know if we ever speak to our heart directly unless we are on our knees in prayer or we are writing up our Christmas wish list. If the heart is the center of the soul, then that means we should be making the heart the center of our universe, the center of our decision-making, and the center of our inner dialogue. What I've come to learn studying the 11 Steps to Serious Joy is that we actually have 12 different voices inside of us, 12 different characters, of which the heart is the center, but quite often is not treated as the center. Let me give you a little inner dialogue example. Let's say, for instance, if I'm driving down the street and I see a Baskin-Robbins, my heart might go, "Ooh, I want some ice cream. I love ice cream," and immediately think of my favorite flavor. Now, as soon as I do that, the other voices in my royal court usually chime in. First of all, my mind will say, uh-oh, that's going to make you fat. So my mind will usually have some sort of negative thing to say about it. My ego will jump in and say, you're going to have to work twice as hard tomorrow in the gym. My inner dictator will step in and say, you've already gotten 3 things this week that you've wanted. And all these voices are not only talking to the heart in a negative manner, but they're forgetting who's in charge. It's the heart. Now, I think we all, to come into our serious joy, have to reinvent our dialogue with our heart. We are not meant to respond the way we have been responding. First of all, your heart is your inner child. So the way we approach the heart must be from a heart perspective. In other words, what the heart wants is love. The heart wants us to respond to he or she with love. And this really kind of begs the question, what is your approach to your heart? Are you usually hard on yourself? Are you a parent? Are you loving? Are you sweet? What is your official approach? And I do this with my clients in readings. A lot of my clients, in fact, almost everyone I read, frankly, is trying to improve the relationship to their heart. And I can tell from the chart the type of personality or the approach they normally take with their heart and the way and the voice that they come from. And, you know, it's no criticism. I think in past lives, we haven't had the opportunity to live for our heart or think for our heart. We haven't had a society that supported us going after our heart. It's frankly after our industrialization and technology and modernization that's leaving room for humans, all humans, to ask these questions. So With my clients, I always say it's time to adopt a new fantasy relationship with your heart. And I always like to use the fairy godmother approach. Really, what our heart needs is a fairy godmother. This beautiful energy that's going to come in and grant our inner child any wish that he or she wants. Because that's really the truth. If the heart is king or queen of the soul, then the heart ought to get absolutely everything he or she wants. It's only a matter of time, frankly. Now, the truth is, many of our hearts are rather shut down. We have been told that our heart doesn't matter from early childhood, and we have repeated that behavior and told our heart that it doesn't matter, or told our heart that it has to wait a long time, or told our heart that it has to sacrifice. And so we literally are pumping less love through our system than we should be as human beings. So it's my wisdom that says we should approach the heart with a yes and what else approach. I call this the yes and approach. In other words, if your heart says it wants ice cream, you say to your heart, yes, you may have ice cream. And what else do you want? At which point the heart says, oh, I want sprinkles. Okay, you may have it, yes. And what else do you want? And I want whipped cream. Okay, you can have it. And what else do you want? And I want 3 cherries. You may have it. And what else do you want? This is what I call the fairy godfather or the fairy godmother approach, whichever fairy you want. And this approach to me is how we begin to speak to our heart. All right, so you may have a little heartbreak. Your heart might be hurting. Your heart might say in the next few days, I want love. I want to be cherished. I want to be secure and not be hurting anymore. And what you say to your heart is, yes, you may have that. And what else do you want? Now, the first thing the heart's going to do is kind of pick up. Like, you're going to feel your heart actually kind of wince because it's not used to hearing yes. It's not used to hearing it can have what it wants. And so at first, you'll find with this approach that your heart goes absolutely crazy, like it's running amok with a $1 million gift certificate in Toys R Us. It's going to want absolutely everything. And what you say to it is, yes, and what else do you want? Now, if your heart says, I want to own the world, you still say to your heart, yes, you may have that. That may take fairy father or fairy godmother a little while to manifest that for you, so keep coming up with other things I can give you in the meantime. You know what I mean? But yes, you may have it. You may have anything your heart wants. Now, what this does by saying yes and to your heart is you begin to open up and relax your heart. Your heart begins to settle down. You're going to find that a lot of your anxiety wasn't that you weren't getting what you want. It was that you had this negative approach to your heart that it's probably not going to get what it's want. You've made and allowed your mind or the inner dictator or the ego to stomp all over the heart's needs and have all these conditions. So when the smartass, which is what I call the mind, says, if you eat ice cream, you get fat, my response to my own mind is, shut up, smartass, the king is talking. Okay, let's be clear on who runs this vessel. It is the heart, which means the mind may not interfere with what the heart wants. The dictator may not interfere with the heart wants. The ego may not interfere with the heart wants. Their job is to serve the heart. They are the servants to the heart. The mind needs to figure out how to eat it without gaining weight. The ego needs to drive its butt over to the ice cream store and get the ice cream now. And the dictator needs to make sure we have enough time to do it. This is the different approach to the heart, treating the heart as the royalty of who you really are. To me, the royalty is our heart. What makes us royal is standing in our heart, and only you can make your heart feel royal. So I'm going to give you a little soul challenge here, my friend. In the next 36 hours or so, I challenge you to completely change the relationship to how you speak to your heart. What role are you playing to this heart? What ambassadorship do you serve? And what is going to be your official answer to yourself every time? The answer is, yes, Your Majesty, and what else can I get for you today? Well, my friend, I gave you that wisdom because looking at the planets, it looks like we have some heartfelt turbulence coming up. Let's take a look at today's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is for Tuesday, July 25th, 2017. And my global prediction for planet Gaia today is cloudy and moody today. Step 2 rules the day, and the moon shifts into Virgo to be nitpicky. Let's take a look at those planets. Yes, we are in the sign of love, my friend, but today you may not be loving it. In fact, for the next 36 hours or so, expect some heartfelt turbulence. As we start the day, Step 2 rules half the day here in North America, and that means it's a very emotional, moody beginning to your day that is all centered around Leo, or the heart. So this is definitely the temper tantrum step number, and you may find that your inner child is throwing all sorts of temper tantrums, maybe last night and probably this morning, maybe even over having to tie your shoes. Now, the thing is, this is the moment to respond to yourself differently and have a loving fairy godfather or fairy godmother approach with yourself. But what's happening is your emotions are revealing truth in the next 24 and 36 hours, and so it's important to listen to these truths. Sure, they may not be new items. Sure, they may not be things that you have brought up with yourself for a long time. But given that we're in the I Love Leo transit, this is coming likely straight from the heart. And that means your heart has had enough, and this is the season, my friend, to fix it. Adding some pressure to the day is our mind. Mercury is at step 29 Leo. That means we are feeling the very bottom of our heart at step 2 and 3 today, but our mind is being tested at the very edge. So watch your thoughts, watch your mind. If you find yourself getting upset, then bring your thoughts to the present. You're going to find that your mind is racing ahead, trying to find the big picture, trying to put it all together, and maybe the goal should just be to feel better. Speaking of feelings, the moon moves into the first decan of Virgo today, and that means emotions themselves, although centered around the heart, are also centered on details, self-criticism, self-judgment. These are kind of the lower degrees of Virgo when a Virgo gets stuck in the swamp of self-criticism and doubt. So today it will take some extra effort for you to pay attention to the details that matter and really let go and do not try to control the details you have no control over. That's really the trick of Virgo, really picking your favorites. So emotionally, focus on your favorites. Now, I think this morning is really to set forward a philosophical afternoon. Later in the day, step 3 Leo rules the day, and it will conjunct Mars. This means that we will be expanding and truly beginning to understand. This pity party or temper tantrum or whatever you feel in the morning is to bring you to a philosophical question this evening, which is, well, what do I believe will make my heart happy? What is the path that I must take? What is the philosophy I must embrace? These are the type of heady discussions I would imagine you will have in the next 24 hours, and it will lead to a minor breakdown or breakthrough, which will happen beginning Wednesday night and finishing up on Thursday morning when step 4 rules. Now, what is this all leading to? This is all leading to your heart committing to a change. The universe is piling up a whole lot of details of what's not right, what needs to change, what the heart is tired of enduring. So the quicker you get to saying to your heart, hey, no problem, I'll fix it, the faster you'll get to the breakthrough. The breakdown is the pity party. It is the inner child tantrum, and it may be necessary depending on how much mama or dada ignores the child through the year, but I want you to know it's not about whatever your heart is breaking down over or feeling bad over. It's about how you're going to respond to this heart moving forward. That is, my friend, the evolution. And speaking of evolution, Black Lilith, old Black Lilith, has moved to step 18 Sagittarius, where she is now conjuncting Saturn. What does this mean in English, Chris? It means that any second now, we're going to decide and commit to overcoming some fear that's in our heart. likely a fear that goes deep in our heart. And it's likely a false fear. It's a fear based on no evidence. So some of this breaking down has to do with breaking through and overcoming some heartfelt boogeyman that has held you back for a long time. And whatever this boogeyman is, it has been part of your story. So in other words, if growing up you were always told you were stupid and your heart always feared being you were stupid, today might be a day where your heart says, I'm tired of feeling stupid, and then realizing I'm not stupid. I was just told that. I'm going to face this fear and not let this break my heart any further. That would be an example of some sort of issue that may go all the way to childhood, that may now connect to a fear that you may now be overcoming. So we are definitely working on ourselves in a powerful way. And part of this is the final wrap-up of Uranus direct. Uranus goes retrograde mid-next week, and at that point, the universe will not be pushing you to grow to be stronger anymore, well, not for a while, or throwing huge obstacle courses in your way. This is, my friend, the turning point, and whether or not it's easy or hard is entirely up to the way you respond to yourself. And lastly, let's talk about Mars himself. The Sun and Mars are conjuncting in the next 24 hours. When I say conjuncting, I mean dead conjuncting at step 3. They've been kind of playing hopscotch for a while. And what this means is that your ego or your actions or the character you are becoming is being invited to have a discussion with your heart. So how often does your ego ask your heart, do you really want that? Think about, let's say, a guy in a bar who wants to go hit on a hot girl across the way. I'm using cliches here because it's easy education. Now, his ego may want to go and hit on that hot girl, but if he asked his heart may actually not be interested at all. His may not be what his heart is really into. And this is a dynamic moment. The Sun conjuncting Mars means we have an opportunity to retrain our ego to ask the heart before it gallops forward, instead of galloping forward assuming it's going to know what the heart wants, but having not spoken to the heart. So these are the type of deep inner heartfelt changes I believe that are occurring really in the next 24 and 36 hours. And my friend, the advice is respond lovingly to your heart, listen to what your heart tells you, and take this chance to change the way your life manifests. Well, my earthly neighbor, this concludes today's Namaste, but I look forward to playing with you again tomorrow. Remember, if you want to be part of our 40-day journey into the heart, it's 40 days of self-love. I'm holding a special 40-day program. It's not too late to get started. It's part of my online application and personal Sensei service. You can try it for just $3.99 and break through in 30 days. For more information, visit SeriousJoy.com. Well, friend, I will see you in 24 hours and more. Be a fairy godmother or fairy godfather to that inner child and tell me how he or she responds. Until then, remember I love you, and to live, love, be. Live, love.